Welcome to Adulting with Donnie. This episode is going to be a little different than usual. And really, I wanted to talk tonight about some mental health type stuff. That's something that I've gotten a little away from. Like, I used to always give out the suicide prevention line at the end of every episode. And I haven't been doing that, which my apologies. I want to read a post that I made yesterday, and then after I read it, I'll maybe go through a couple of the highlights in it, and then maybe talk a little bit about some of my own experiences with mental health type stuff. So here it goes. Life is not easy at all. There's gonna be challenges. You're gonna get beat down. That's the way life is. Sometimes horrible things happen to good people. Life isn't fair, and it can be heart-wrenching. And if you're having one of those dark days, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to feel that darkness. When those bad things happen, what are you going to do? Are you going to let this horrible situation dictate the way you feel and the way you handle it? Are you going to fall over, fall down, fall apart? Or are you going to face this issue with courage? You know darkness, so embrace that darkness. Don't run away from it. Own it. Step up to the challenge. No matter what you face, start walking. Take that step every day. No matter what you're facing, get up and start walking. You're never truly alone. If the struggles in your mind are pulling on you, there's always a hand to reach for. And if you're reading this right now, listening to this, no matter what time, congratulations. You made it through another day. I guarantee you'll regret it if you quit, but if you don't know what's going to happen if you keep going. I know the fear of going further than I have. I know the fear of facing another day. I know very well the fear of success. But I promise, when you face that fear, when you get up in the morning, look your adversity in the face and say, fuck you, I'm winning today no matter what you throw at me, nothing feels better. Nothing feels better than going through darkness, having hands reach out to you, being scared to grab them, doing it anyways, and coming out in light. Keep fighting, keep going, no matter what. So, I've talked a little bit before about my own mental health issues, some of the things that I've experienced, and just a week or two ago, my mate, Ro, had asked me if I ever thought about getting more involved in organizations that try to help out with that type of thing, whether it be Mission 22 or Wounded Warrior Project or It Gets Better Project, or whatever the organization is, because there's plenty of them out there that try to help people realize you can keep going. And I've thought a lot about her asking that in the last couple weeks since she asked. A lot of it has to do with me not wanting to go back into that dark part of my own mind. I feel like I was very lucky, and I was able to escape a lot of those bad things, those bad days. I mentioned in there, if you're listening to this, congratulations, you made it through another day. It doesn't really matter the time. If it's 10 o'clock at night, then you made it through today. If it's 10 o'clock in the morning, then you made it through yesterday. But either way, you made it through another day. I don't like to go backwards into that part of me. I don't like to look at how I used to be. Like I said, I was very fortunate in being able to come out. I mean, there were so many bad days where I struggled so much with whether or not I wanted to go on another day. And of course, finding such a great partner played a big role in becoming a more positive person. But it doesn't all land on my mate. I had to do a lot of self-work. I had to do a lot of self-reflection. And I continue to. I still, to this day, have to get up every morning and talk to myself, remind myself of why I'm so happy, why I feel so positive. I have to look my adversity in the face. And it all slips away pretty quickly that I'm feeling good. But it takes work. You can talk yourself into a depression if you want. But that also means that you can talk yourself out of it. Your mind is so much stronger than you know. I've certainly had to learn that over the course of the last few years. The thing that kept me from making those bad choices for so long was some pretty dumb things. Well, I mean, I say that they're dumb, but I think that if they kept me alive, then they couldn't have been that dumb, right? For me, it was I can't kill myself right now because then I'm going to miss the next Avengers movie, or I'm going to miss the last season of Sons of Anarchy, or stuff like that. Now things are so very different that those moments don't come up as often as they once did. But when they do, I think about how good things are and how much I've improved and how strong I've been able to show myself that I am. And I don't mean physical strength. I mean mental strength. I mean, without going into it too much, a couple of years ago, I had a really, really hard time in my life. I'm trying to figure out the most diplomatic way to put this on the spot, but I went through a very difficult time in my life, and there were moments where I thought it's easier to just go backwards. It's easier to just go back into the drinking myself to death every night. It's easier to go back to the quiet. It's easier to go backwards. And it's less scary than stepping out into the unknown. It's easier to go back to knowledge, right? It's always easier to go back to what you know than to step out into the unknown. But it took a lot of strength. It took some courage to say, no, I know what I want out of my life, and that is not it. I want more. I want more out of my life than what I'm getting right now. And to step into something that I didn't know. I had no idea what was going to happen. I ended up kind of between homes for a little bit, and not even really knowing what home was, not even knowing where I was going. A couple nights of being able to stay in motels because I had the money, a handful of nights of sleeping in my truck because I didn't have the money. Then add to that having to, go through a 9-month fight for what was rightfully mine, being my cat. All of it was just, wouldn't it be easier to just stay in knowledge? And but I knew that knowledge wasn't healthy, mentally healthy, or physically healthy with all the drinking that I was doing at the time. It wasn't easy, but like I said, you can talk yourself out of a depression. You can get up every day and remind yourself, even if you can only come up with a couple of positive things, you can remind yourself every day what those positive things are. Maybe you do have, hopefully you do have a roof over your head. Hopefully you have a job that, at least pays the bills. Even if it doesn't pay the bills, is it paying the important ones, the roof over your head, the gas to get to and from your job? You can remind yourself daily what those positive things are. And they can start right in the morning. And then they don't even need to finish in the morning. They don't need to all come at you through the morning. You can just remind yourself through the day. You can have hourly reminders, minutely reminders, second by second reminders if you need to. If you need to remind yourself of all the positives in your life. And I also mentioned about reaching out for hands. I remember a friend of mine once saying, every morning I get up and I do 22 push-ups to remind myself of the 22 soldiers a day that commit suicide. And I didn't understand that, and I still don't understand that. 5, 6, 7 years ago, there was a thing going around Facebook where it was, I'm doing a 22 push-up challenge to raise awareness about soldier suicide, and it was the same thing, people doing 22 push-ups, and I still don't really understand that, because I think that it would be more effective to just reach out to one person, and it doesn't, your close friends, obviously. I have, probably 10 or 15 close friends that I communicate with on a fairly frequent basis. But there's those occasional friends, the people that I don't talk to as often, the people that I only hear from, or they only hear from me maybe once a month, maybe once every 6 months. And those are the ones that you might reach out to just be like, hey man, how are you doing today? Like, you don't need to go through a whole thing about, hey, I'm just checking on your status, because honestly, there's times in my history where if I was, and there's no way to tell, there's really no way for me to just, unless someone is posting some dark shit. Like there were times when I posted some pretty dark shit and people reached out to me to check on me. And I have friends that have posted some dark shit and I've reached out on them to check on them. But outside of that, public darkness, you don't really have the opportunity to know if someone's having their own moment where they need you. But you can just pick people at random to just be like, how you doing? How are you? What's going on? I've had a handful of people that I served overseas with. I don't mean to make this all about, because it's not just about military suicide. I mean, suicide in general is just, it's a national problem. One of the things that bothers me about talking about, 22 soldiers kill themselves a day. The problem with that number is that if you pick that number out of any group, this is going to be unpopular, I think. If you pick that number out of any group, it's really not that different by varying groups. 22 police officers a day, 22 gay, lesbian, trans a day. Pick your demographic, and 22 high schoolers a day. Pick your demographic, and you'll come out with a pretty similar number, somewhere in that mid-20s area of suicides per day. So that, so I'm not just talking about soldier suicide, but in my case, the majority of the people who I've been friends with or close with that have taken their own life have been military, have been people that I served overseas with. One of them was my friend Mike, and he was always one of the happiest guys you could ever encounter. He I don't know how to describe him. I mean, he was just always had a smile on his face, just kind of I want to say kind of a nerd, but a nerd that everyone liked. People enjoyed to be around him. And 3 weeks before he took his life, people are talking to him and everything seems fine. And then one day he's just gone. So the point of that is that you don't always know who's going to take their own life, and sometimes it's just helpful to talk to people. And I don't know how to solve it. I don't know if there is a solve for any of it, because some people are just going to do it, and they're never going to let you know. They're never going to let you know that there's this, badness, that they have this adversity, that they're facing this anxiety. They're never going to be as open about it. So I don't know if you can. I don't know if there's an actual solve to it. And those people, those are the hardest ones, because it leaves the most questions. My friend Mike is a great example of it leaves the most questions of, like, what was he going through? What caused that? What made things so bad? And how could I have helped? Could I have helped? It is another excellent question. Is there anything that I could have done? I don't know. You just never know. And getting away from you helping someone else, and leaning more towards your own mental health. At least for me, I've always preached about reaching out to someone, and I've never been good about it. I've never been real good about it. Fortunately, 2 or 3, I think 3 people have been going through their own bad night and have messaged me, and just it starts off as just like, hey, I'm having a bad night, basically, and it turns into a 2-hour conversation where we're talking back and forth, and unbeknownst to me the whole time, I'm talking them out of something. And those are some times in my life that I won't soon forget. It just helps to be a person that people can talk to, I guess. Even if it's just, I think that as much as, the whole 22 push-ups a day thing, I think it's equally, if not more important, to make it known that you are always willing to be that hand for someone to reach out to. At a certain point, I had to set up basically, I don't know what to call it, a helpline? I'm not sure. I let 3 friends know about how bad things were for me, and that, I would want to let them know that, I wanted to let them know that, there might come a time when I have to call you or text you or something like that, and just have that, have that person to talk to. And I did use it with at least one of those people. I did follow my own rules on that one. But anyways, I think that's about all I have for now anyways on mental health. And like I said at the very beginning, very different episode. No jokes, no laughing, no humor. Because I want to get better about talking more openly about this kind of stuff, and I'd like to help people. And I don't know how many people may or may not hear this, but I'd like to help people get through their own thing. Someone asked me once if I would ever consider like working a suicide line, or helping out with counseling or something like that. And my fear always was, how I might feel if I couldn't stop someone. And I'm slowly realizing that if that were the case, then there's probably nothing I could have done anyways. And I couldn't carry that burden of trying to put that on my own shoulders. So I would like to get more involved with trying to help people. I just have to figure out my jump off point. But again, that's another thing that I can wake up tomorrow morning and say, add to my list of positives of saying, you know what, I want to help other people. And I want to start looking into it today. So who knows? Maybe as the future goes on, you'll hear more about that. So getting back to my origins of the show, the national, and it has changed since I last did an episode where I gave it out, but the National Suicide Prevention Line is 988. So it's that easy, 988. Like I said, if you're having one of those dark days, it's perfectly acceptable to have bad days, to have sad days. It's okay to do that. But you can talk to someone and maybe get through it a little easier. So, all that said, you now have my episode for this week. I hope you all have a great weekend. Good night.